Okay. So now up until now, we've been dealing with a lot of 0 over 0 type limits, where if you plug in the number, you get 0 over 0. And we've seen that often leads to cancellation, right? Some sort of algebraic cancellation. And the limit can really, it can end up being anything. I mean, you can get any sort of number. In these problems, we don't get 0 over 0. We get non-zero over 0. That's the difference. That I'm doing some number over some small number, 1 over x. So the numerator is kind of fixed. So we're going to say this. So if direct substitution, ds is direct substitution. If ds gives the expression non-zero over 0, then each one-sided limit is infinite. To say that the limit is infinite means it could be either plus or minus infinity, one or the other. To determine which infinity, right, to determine whether it's the positive or the negative, to determine whether limit is plus infinity or minus infinity, we perform a sign analysis. Of numerator and denominator. Okay. So we'll see what that means in the exercises. But so it turns out that these limits are a little bit easier than the 0 over 0 limits. The 0 over 0 limits, we always need some sort of clever algebra. For a non-zero number over 0, there's less to do. You already know the one-sided limits are infinite. It's a matter of determining whether it's positive or negative. That's really what it boils down to. And now let's also define a vertical asymptote. Now, asymptotes is kind of a weird thing. Asymptotes is something that you definitely saw in pre-calculus, right? As everyone has seen vertical asymptotes, yes? But the thing about vertical and horizontal asymptotes is that in pre-calculus, they kind of give you a definition that isn't exactly right. The reason is because the true definition has to do with limits, and limits is what kind of separates pre-calculus from calculus, so it's not really your teacher's fault. So what is the true definition of vertical asymptote? It has to do with limits. Asymptotes are always defined in terms of limits. So this is what we say for vertical asymptote. If either lim as x goes to a from the left, or the lim as x goes to a from the right is infinite. So if either of the one-sided limits is infinite, doesn't even have to be both, just at least one of them, then the line x equals a is a vertical asymptote for f. That's the definition. And that's the only definition there is a vertical asymptote.